let's talk about a guy who completely changed the world without ever writing a single book. We're heading back to ancient Athens to meet Socrates, a man whose ideas have been echoing for more than 2,000 years, all because he wasn't afraid to ask questions. You've probably heard this one before, right? I know that I know nothing. It sounds a little strange, but this isn't him saying he's ignorant, not at all. This is the starting point for all wisdom. It's about admitting you don't have all the answers, because that's the only way you can ever start to learn something new. So that brings us to the big puzzle we're going to tackle today. How on earth did this humble philosopher, who literally left no writings behind, become one of the most important thinkers in all of history? Let's dig in and find out. To really get Socrates, you have to get his method. See, he wasn't about standing up and giving boring lectures. His whole thing was about having a conversation and stripping away all the fluff to get to what's real. And his main tool for this was what we now call the Socratic method. Now, the goal here isn't to win an argument or to make someone look stupid. It's actually a team effort, a back-and-forth dialogue where you work together to get closer to the truth, even if it means admitting you were wrong. So how does it actually work? Well, it starts with a big question, something like, what is courage? Or what is justice? Someone throws out a simple answer, but you don't just accept it. Nope. You start poking holes in it, looking for contradictions. Each question is like peeling a layer off an onion, until you finally get to something that's much more solid and real than where you started. And here is a perfect classic example. Let's say we define justice as simply giving people what you owe them. Sounds fair, right? But then Socrates hits you with this question. And of course, the answer is no. You wouldn't give a weapon back to someone who's clearly not in their right mind. And just like that, your simple definition of justice completely shatters and you're forced to think way, way deeper. Now, this whole approach made him the total opposite of the other big-shot teachers of his day, the Sophists. The Sophists were smooth talkers. They taught people how to win arguments for a fee. It was all about getting ahead, gaining power, making money. Socrates, he couldn't have been more different. He was after truth, not a paycheck. For him, philosophy was about becoming a better person, not a richer one. And that's a crucial point, because for Socrates, all this questioning wasn't just some fun mental exercise. It was the key to living a good and meaningful life. You see, at the absolute core of his philosophy was this radical idea. Your main job in life isn't to chase money or fame or power. It's to take care of your inner self, your soul. And the way you do that is by constantly reflecting on who you are and what you believe. And this led him to some pretty wild conclusions. He argued that virtue is knowledge. Meaning, if you truly, deeply know what the right thing to do is, you'll just do it, automatically. So when people do bad things, it's not because they're evil, it's because they're ignorant. For him, you couldn't separate being a smart person from being a good person. They were one and the same. And this is probably his most powerful quote. It sums up everything. He truly believed that a life lived on autopilot, where you never stop to ask why you believe what you believe, is basically a life wasted. To be truly human, you have to constantly examine yourself. But as you can imagine, walking around Athens all day, questioning everyone's most cherished beliefs, especially those of powerful people, was bound to get him into trouble. He was on a collision course with the state, and he knew it. You gotta remember what was going on at the time. Athens had just lost a brutal, devastating war. The city was on edge, politically unstable. And in that kind of climate, a guy who goes around making the most powerful people in the city look like they don't know what they're talking about, well, he starts to look less like a philosopher and more like a public menace. So, at 70 years old, they put him on trial. Now, the official charges were about religion and corrupting the youth. But let's be real, that was just a cover. His real crime was encouraging young people to think for themselves and to question authority. And when he got to court, Socrates didn't beg or apologize. He did the exact opposite. He doubled down. He basically argued that he was on a mission from God, and that his questioning was the best thing that ever happened to Athens. He told them they should be giving him an award, not a death sentence. 500. That's how many of his fellow citizens were on the jury. This wasn't some king making a decree. This was his own community. And by a pretty narrow margin, they found him guilty. The sentence was death. And true to his principles, to the very end, he accepted it with total calm. Surrounded by his friends, he drank a cup of poison hemlock and became the first martyr for philosophy, a man who literally died for the pursuit of truth. But in a way, his death is what truly cemented his legacy. So why are we still talking about him thousands of years later? Well, because his big ideas are maybe more important right now than they've ever been. I mean, his influence is just everywhere. His focus on living a good life basically created the field of ethics. His method of questioning is the foundation of critical thinking. He completely changed our ideas about education, and his final stand made him a hero for anyone who has ever had the courage to speak truth to power. Seriously, just think about our world today. It's so full of noise, distraction, hot takes, and unexamined opinions. The Socratic call to just slow down, to actually question what we believe and why we believe it, that's an incredible tool for navigating the chaos of modern life. And so, in the end, Socrates turns the question back on all of us. The ancient motto was "Know thyself," and his challenge to us is simple, but it's also the most profound question there is. Are you living an examined life? Do you really, truly know yourself?